Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and today we're talking about Assassin's Creed Apocalypse. Assassin's Creed Apocalypse is the expansion to Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice from Triton Noir. This is a prototype, all rules and components subject to change, and there'll be a link to the crowdfunding campaign down below. Now, I say talking about rather than reviewing because of the nature of it being a prototype and a campaign game, and me not having had a chance to see anywhere near as much as I'd like to officially call it a review. That said, I of course will be giving you my thoughts, my opinions, the differences between the original Brotherhood of Venice and this one so far, what I've seen different, all those things, and well, let's go ahead and dive into it. Now, I will say this will not be a full overview of how to play. If you want to see that, I recommend checking out my original review of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice, although even that's not really a full how to play, more of a general overview, but there's many videos you can check out as far as the way the system works. I'll be focusing on a very high level of what the system does, and then, of course, the changes, the differences, my opinions, and all of that. Starting as far as the high level, this is a stealth-based game. A stealth-based game based in the Assassin's Creed universe, based on the V-Commando system, the V-Sabotage system from Triton Noir, in which you'll be controlling any number of characters in the game. I say any number, but really 1 to 4 characters in the game, as you accomplish different goals, as you try to wander around, being sure to evade detection by the many guards on the board as much as possible, because if you get caught in this game too early, the alarm will shift. You'll have this alarm token shifting from, everything safe to everything dangerous, and at that point, every time you spawn bad cards, you're going to be spawning a whole lot more enemies than there are on a kind of easy turn when no one knows what's going on. And while you can survive once that happens, you don't have that much time to survive. The nature of the game is that once the alarm is going, once there are many guards charging to the various spawn points on the board, you will be overwhelmed sooner rather than later. So managing your stealth, managing those alarms, managing everything in the game is key to being able to actually go in, accomplish your objectives, and get out before you have too much time with the alarms on the board and the guards swarming all over you. The action economy in the game just means that you cannot take out as many guards are coming onto the board once that alarm is going, and so this is a stealth-based game. This is a game of trying to use all your various equipment, and there are lots of toys and equipment you'll have access to in the game while you try to navigate the specific board and setup in order to accomplish your goals. To that end, the specifics of this system in general, and before we get into, Apocalypse in general, the specifics of the system involve an action selection system, which you have 3 actions a turn. You can use these action cubes to move around the board, to take actions, to attack. You can also save 1 action round to round, and you can use a variety of equipment to try to take down various enemies, both stealth-based takedowns as well as just full-on melee aggressive takedowns, although those will generate the alarm, so you need to be mindful of what you're doing and how you do it. Whenever you wander into a zone with enemies, you're going to be rolling for stealth checks. You're going to be rolling dice and seeing if the enemies see you. This over here means no one saw you. This means you have now been discovered and the alarm will shift, and this means you only get discovered if the alarm is already going. Meaning once the alarm is going, you still have the opportunity to operate incognito. You still have the opportunity to duck into a bush, climb a tree, and get out of the way while you attempt to accomplish all your goals, but the alarm is triggering and you have to be very mindful of how many enemies are flooding onto the board. The game is scenario-based, it's a campaign-based, and you're going to be unlocking things as you go. Throughout the course of each adventure, you're going to be trying to climb this tower at certain points. This is a replacement to the original tower from Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice. Thematically speaking, they just look different, but they function pretty much the same as far as the actual game. You climb to the tower, and you reveal that specific scenarios card that will show you what other things are on the map. It'll show you various unlocks on the map around you, and so you want to climb that tower, especially if you want to get access to all these chests as you slowly go through the sequences. Once you do that, you'll be able to go ahead and find the quest. Meanwhile, you also have your objectives. This is only the first scenario. Again, I'm trying to remain very spoiler-free in any sense, so I'm not showing you later things that I've discovered, just showing you the first scenario. But you have a specific objective, there's going to be a thematic aspect to what that objective is, and you're trying to get there and accomplish those objectives while trying to hopefully stay out of sight and ultimately accomplish the objective and then escape off the map with the various assassins in play. There's a whole aspect of how assassins work when they die and things like that, whether you get replaced with a basic assassin before you have to come back a turn later. If you fail a mission twice, then the game just does it for you, so you don't get too stuck on one mission, accomplishing it again and again and again, but you will have a sticker system to measure your progress and what you got done and not, so while the game does it for you, you will lose that, you'll have the shame of not getting that sticker properly placed where you want it in the campaign progression. That's the general idea of the game. There are a bunch of nuances here, but for the most part, this is going to maintain the same idea of the original Brotherhood of Venice in terms of the way it operates, in terms of the actions, and in terms of the entire sequence is basically the same. There are differences, though. there are going to be, and this is where we'll start talking about the differences between the two games, at least from what I've seen so far. There are going to be differences in terms of just the various enemies you're fighting. There's going to be dealing with different enemies than the original ones because you're going to have new miniatures, new enemies. You're also going to have different types of dice. So you now have a poison die, this idea that poison that can slowly tick away at your economy by slowly clogging up your actions, and you have to get rid of it or you just won't be able to do as much in the game, and it is fairly brutal as far as dealing with those poison. You're going to have these various danger tokens that go on the board that have different things popping up, whether, little pythons in the desert, little crocodiles in the water, or possibly various treasures that you can get your hands on. So you have these different danger tokens in the game as well. You're also going to have the fact that you're going to have, and this is one of those things, again, I'm trying to be as spoiler-free as possible, but by the end of the first scenario, you're basically going to unlock a character who can wander around with you. This is all in the rules. It's nothing spoiler here, but you're going to have a kind of a third assassin you can help manage. You can use their own stamina, and you can also contribute your stamina to them, which gives you a kind of a third player that can be very helpful, especially when you're in a tight spot, and you want to go ahead and use some other character on the board. You can use your action economy towards them to help them accomplish the various goals. They're not treated like a full assassin. They're a little small assassin. They have some of the aspects. There's some basic stats. They don't get upgraded. They don't have a full assassin board over here that gets upgraded throughout the course of the game, but they are useful to have on the board to accomplish your goals, since you're going to have that as an extra thing in play. I think the biggest difference from what I've seen, and there's a few other things, this giant python we're not going to talk about because, you'll see it, but we're not going to talk too much about this giant python over here, but effectively, let's just see if I can focus, because I don't want to talk about it, but I do want to show you it, because it is very, very cool. But then past that, you're also going to have a new system that replaces the headquarters in the original Assassin's Creed. This is a big deal. You're going to have this map over here, which I'm going to have to try to show you without showing you, because I already did some stuff, so I'm going to cover some areas before I show you this. But you're going to have this map over here, and this map's going to be a map of the region with a degree of threat that is slowly escalating as you play the game. And what's going to be happening is you're going to have these small sections, which with the real game, you're going to have a lot more. This is just a prototype. That's just what we have here. But you're going to have these various locations on the board. And what you do is, instead of the headquarters phase, and the headquarters phase in the original Assassin's Creed was this idea that when you're done with the mission, you can engage with the headquarters, where you can have this opportunity to slowly research various things and heal yourself and do all these things that are kind of an encampment phase between missions. And while good, I had my complaints with it. I thought it was not as smooth as the rest of the game and not as rewarding and a lot to manage, but fun stuff attached to it, and so I understood why it existed, but I wasn't as much of a fan of it. Over here, what we have instead is we have the map of the region, where instead you'll be spending actions to be able to go ahead and explore from different spots. Where you'll start with a spot where you left off, and from there you can have the opportunity to move to various adjacent spots on the board. And again, you can't see it fully here because I'm specifically covering the area so as not to spoil things for you, but you'll have different areas that you can slowly unlock and then start exploring, placing stickers on different areas, and getting various things that are in the region. So you have a limited number of actions. You can spend more actions, but that will escalate your threat in the region, and those actions you spend will help you unlock more stuff, more spots for the next mission, because you have to find the next mission location, more spots in terms of new cards, new treasures, new items you can get your hands on as you explore. And there's an idea of the types of things you'll find. You have a little key that shows you what types of things are likely to be found in different types of icons, whether you're likely to find treasure and runes and things like that. But ultimately, that's kind of just a probability game, and what you actually do when you get to a location, you're going to have to draw some cards, make some choices, go through a bit of a sequence of events, so to speak, as you go to these locations. And overall, this just replaces the headquarters of the original game in the way that it gives you that in-between for missions. That gives you that sense of exploration. It gives you attempting to find your next mission, but it also gives you unlocking various things through, again, cards and choices. And you wander into a temple, and do you kick down the rock, or do you try to find a side route? And then you're going to have choices and agency as far as how that impacts with your assassins in the game, whether it impedes whether it impedes their health and progress in different ways, or alternatively, whether it gives you various assets along the way, or sometimes both, depending on the choices you make. Sometimes there's a degree of circular nature to things, but depending on how you get there might depend on the choices you make along the way. That's going to be the main differences overall. There's not a ton of differences in Assassin's Creed Apocalypse versus the original Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice. For the most part, this takes the same system and gives you more. There are more enemies, more missions, more items, more things to explore within this universe, but for the most part, it has the same bones. The biggest change to me, and again, there are small changes, I'm not getting into every little detail, but the biggest change to me is the replacement of the headquarters board with this exploration map, which to me, and this is where we'll start moving into opinions and thoughts on Assassin's Creed Apocalypse based on what I've explored of it so far, the biggest change is that replacement board, which to me is a huge pro. This board is engaging and fun, and I want to explore it, and I have the temptation to escalate my threat as I continue to explore the world around me. I have a small nitpick around it, which is, it's getting a little technical, But if you immediately find the right location, then you kind of have to waste actions to explore other places and go back. It's a smallest little nitpick because they have this kind of thing where you can save one action round to round, similar to your own board where you can save an action from one round to the next. They have that same system in play. This is a small complaint, but that one element, sometimes you just find the location right away and then you're like, okay, great, I have 2 actions left. I guess I'll just wander somewhere and back again, which just feels not fun. But for the most part, that one nitpick aside, this exploration board is so much more personally engaging to me than the headquarters board from the original Brotherhood of Venice. It's less work to maintain and it's more fun to explore. It just feels like it fits into the system more naturally, and it is something. I have no idea what their plans are. I really hope that they backwards compatible this to the original Assassin's Creed. I hope they do, because as of right now, I would rather dive into Assassin's Creed Apocalypse again and explore that again than play the original Assassin's Creed, because as much as I enjoy the original Assassin's Creed, I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 and I stand by that rating. I love the game. My biggest and only complaint about Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice, my biggest complaint, the one that meaningfully impacts my enjoyment, is the fact that as a campaign game, it is more of an obligation to table. I'm not going to pull it out for a single session. I'm going to pull it out when I want to play 5, 10, 15 games in a row, and to that end, it is a bit of a barrier to entry, and the headquarters board is a little bit in that way as well, and so those are the aspects of the original Brotherhood of Venice to take away from my experience. But the original game, I gave it a 4.5. I like the game a lot, and I have continuously refused to get rid of it from my collection again and again and again. I like the game, even though it's a campaign game, even though I don't table that much. When I do table it, I have a lot of fun, and I'm reminded of how much I enjoy the stealth-based approach, how much it feels like the Assassin's Creed universe, and it's just an overall good time, except for those times where you roll a single die and the odds are in your favor, and of course you get found out, but it is what it is. You have to learn to adapt, and they give you a lot of equipment and tools and assassins with abilities that all give you the various things you need to embrace that system, deal with the occasional bad rolls, but ultimately try to figure out how to accomplish your objectives in this game. I enjoy the systems at play. To me, Apocalypse is just better. And I hate saying that. I hate saying that about expansions in general. I'd rather be able to, not rather's the wrong word. I don't like saying about the new stuff, hey, it's just better. But to me, I mean, if you want a complaint, I much prefer the towers to this. This just feels less cool, and that is the case. But past that, the game keeps all the things that are the same for me. It keeps all the things that I liked. All the things about Assassin's Creed that I enjoyed are present here. That sense of exploration, that sense of discovery, the tactical choices and considerations you make as you wander around the board. It plays well solo, it plays well with multiple players. All those things are very present in Apocalypse, and the only strong change, I guess let's go, in terms of these tokens over here, these danger tokens, it's take it or leave it for me. I don't care for these. I'm not against them. It's another thing. These, I don't mind. Like, if you took these out of the game, it gives you a tactical consideration. When you're wandering around the board and you have a bunch of tokens in your way and you're trying to figure out how to move around and not engage with the various tokens, it definitely gives you the tactical consideration because you often don't want to deal with those tokens. It's another thing in your way. It's another opportunity to roll a die and be discovered by that python in the bush who's trying to attack you. And so the tokens kind of, I appreciate the tactical consideration, while also I'd rather just deal with more enemies, personally speaking. I don't find them as rewarding. I'd almost rather just more sentries, more enemies that stood in play. And so the tokens are not a positive, not a negative in terms of that change there. But the overall and biggest change is a replacement of one of my main critiques from the original, and to that end, Apocalypse so far has my attention. It's a game that gives me the same gameplay, with a new theme, new stuff. All those things are fine. If you've played the original Assassin's Creed through and through, and you want that stuff, great, awesome. If you haven't, well, you don't necessarily need this except for those changes, and the changes, while nice, are certainly not essential. Overall, I'm not giving an official score. Well, I mean, that's a 4.5. The changes so far, and based on how much I've experienced the game so far, aren't enough for me to push this to a 5, at least not yet. But ultimately, it's still a 4.5. It gives me the same highs as the original Assassin's Creed, with some extra elements that I like, and I think the changes are overall positive, but they are small changes. If you have the original Assassin's Creed Brotherhood of Venice, you have a great game on your hands, and you don't need to rush out and get this one. But if you already explored that and played through it, or really enjoy it, or really, really, really want that exploration instead of the headquarters, this is a very solid follow-up to that original game. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and leave you with this. This has been my impressions, thoughts, opinions of Assassin's Creed Apocalypse. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.